how did you first get involved in STEM and figure out that programming was super cool and something that you love to do, but specifically like embedded programming, because embedded programming means that you're making hardware do stuff, which I particularly find interesting. So, yeah.
That was, I mean, if there was a pinpoint origin story, it was the first time that I had a motor move on my desk with my software controlling it.
Yes.
And I don't know if everybody has used the motors where you can barely see the spindle.
Mhm.
And so I had a Barbie doll head sitting on the spindle, and so Barbie was spinning around because I had typed in commands, and that was my origin story. That's really where it started.
So basically you made an exorcist Barbie, and you were hooked. You were like, "Yes."
But to be fair, I had been a software engineer at HP. I had moved over to HP Labs, and my boss knew I was an embedded engineer, but all I knew was that I was going to write software.
Mm.
And so it was just a matter of he told me what, we need to control this. And I somehow already knew, I mean, I knew a lot of the motor stuff from college,
Mhm.
but actually putting the software in, I had never done that. I didn't do robotics in college or anything.
Yeah.
And so that was the point. But I mean, I had a degree in engineering CS from Harvey Mudd, like you.
Mhm.
But where did I get interested in STEM? I mean, in high school, I guess.
Mhm.
I went to a high school that was very large and very few of the people went to college.
Mhm.
So it was not a great high school.
Was that here in California or was that somewhere else?
Here in California, Colton
Mhm.
High,
Okay.
near San Bernardino High, which
Okay. So Mud was almost local for you then.
it was. I mean, it was about 45 minutes to get home, which I
Cool.
never did, not even on like Christmas vacation. I would just stay in the dorms.
That's great.
So in high school, I liked history, I liked writing,
Mhm.
I liked biology. I didn't have a lot of programming experience. In like elementary school, there were the computers in libraries on the tape decks and you typed in things. I
Mhm.
did that, but it was just there. And when I was accepted into Mudd, which by the way was the only college I applied to, which was, now that I look back, the dumbest thing I have ever done.
Did you do early decision or
Yes, I did do
okay.
early decision.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that makes sense because I mean you were committed at that point, right? And then you had time if Mud deferred or said no a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I did go to like a terrible high school, so it was, and Mudd knew that I went to a terrible high school, so they had me go to this bridge program where
Okay, yeah.
I got more calculus, and there was a CS class. The thing was, the CS class was the easiest thing I had ever done. Like, I was struggling over in high school, I had taken calculus, but when I
Mhm.
got to Mudd, it was like, what is this S shape? What does that do? We had only had derivatives.
Yeah.
So so I was like in math going, what's happening? I thought I took this class and it's terrible. And then we had the CS class and I'm like, okay, this is how my brain works. It's
Cool.
you do this and then this and then that. So CS just was like, there were a lot of things I did not do well at Mudd in, but CS was always like kind of the easy class because it was just my brain. And then we got into systems engineering, which is
Mm.
like a second year class at Mudd, and most people hate it. I loved Fourier, like kind of like how computers worked. Fourier made the world make more sense.
Nice.
It was the patterns, the spinning, the sine waves, they just all were how my brain really worked, and it felt more like home.
Mhm.
So between that, I did all of the theoretical engineering classes and all of the applied CS classes,
Oh,
and
interesting. Huh.
made my own
Yeah.
degree from those. Couple credits off a double major, but made my own degrees from those. And then at the same time, I minored in or concentrated in theories of learning because I got really interested
Mm.
in intelligent tutoring systems
Oh,
and
cool.
did my senior project on making Zork, the game engine.
Yeah.
teach physics.
Whoa.
And it had different ways. Like if you couldn't throw the coconut, if you couldn't throw the rock to get the coconut out of the tree, it would give you different hints. And then the next time you needed a hint, it would give you that kind of hint. It was really, really cool. And I had so much fun making it. So then I went to HP because good place. And then John Sadler hired me over in labs to do embedded systems because I kept getting closer and closer to the hardware and I liked it.
Hmm. Now,
And
what did you think of electrical engineering in college?
oh,
Because
it was fine as long as, we were doing systems engineering. As long as there was a resistor instead of friction or instead of a spring. I mean,
Mhm,
as far as the systems part, sure, no problem. You want to
mhm.
know what the frequency response of that circuit is? You want to talk about how antennas work? Sure, no problem. That's granddaddy stamps. It was totally fun. Um, but putting together a circuit, I wasn't the sort of kid who took things apart. I was a reader, not an experimenter. People say like, "Oh yeah, my mom would know I would be an engineer from get go because I took apart all my toys." Didn't occur to me to take apart a toy.
Yeah, same. I was not a taker aparter either. There's also like a scarcity of stuff because I grew up on an island. So having electronic toys was a really like that was unusual. And so yeah, if I had stuff and it worked, I did not want to take apart and risk that it would not work. Because there just
Exactly.
wasn't a lot of help for that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I didn't live on an island, but there was a scarcity of stuff I could break.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. So it sounds like you kind of found your way in college in terms of what you liked and what you didn't like, and what was easy for you, what was harder. It's so interesting to me and weird that most colleges like make you pick a major and apply to that major from the get-go. And I can't imagine. I did a similar thing where I dated several subjects first to see if we got along or not, and engineering was the last one, and fortunately it worked out because I was getting a little bit nervous by then. At first I thought like, oh, maybe chemistry or physics, but I'd never taken an engineering class. And I was like, yeah, well, maybe engineering. I mean, I like doing stuff with my hands, so that sounds cool. But yeah, I had never taken an engineering class. And so when we did STEMs, I really liked it. It clicked more than anything else did.
It was one of those classes that like a good 3/4 of the people hated. I
Yeah.
mean, just absolutely, why are we doing this? It's awful. Hate it. And then there were those of us who were like, no, no, these are the secrets.
Yeah.
To hell with actually, geometries and physics. This is the cool stuff.
Yeah, I felt like when I learned math and engineering, suddenly math made more sense. Suddenly
Yes.
calculus made a lot more sense. I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, because I can actually see how it works in the system, and now I understand more about, like, why a spring might resonate and why that might be similar to an electrical circuit resonating," and yeah, things like that. I definitely had that too. Yeah, I can't imagine if I had had to pick a major from the get-go, it would have been terrible. I would have changed several times and ugh, yeah.
Well, doing applied CS and theoretical engineering meant that I was completely geared to do signal processing and motor control.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, it was just I knew how to put PID loops
Mhm.
into code, and then I knew how to tune them, and that was not a skill that was widespread. And
Yeah.
signal processing, audio processing, and data processing. Oh, sure, we're just going to slap some low pass filters on that. Oh, we need a notch. Yeah, we'll do that in software. And it worked for me. But when people
Cool.
say, "Well, what should I take in college?" I'm like, I don't know. But join the robotics class because that's something I wish I had had.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a robotics clinic, like, that was the first year that there was any sort of robotics thing was, I think, our it was either our junior or our senior. I think it was our senior year, actually. So, maybe I think I was 2 years behind you. So yeah, and I did apply for that clinic and I did not get it. And I was sad to not get it. But I had a great time learning about microfluidics. So that was a cool clinic project.
That's another thing that, you get out of school and nobody knows that, but it's a big field, especially with all the DNA stuff and the sampling of water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you use any of that anymore?
No, I didn't use any of the microfluidics at all. But it's interesting. Occasionally, like I'll catch something in the news and be like, "Oh yeah, we were kind of using that technique in our clinic class." We were doing stuff with ultra laminar flow. So we were basically looking at ways of being able to like take a blood sample and take this sample of blood that had all of these different fluorescent markers in it because it had been, mixed up with them, and they were trying to identify, just certain things in the blood. And so the idea was, but the detection point was very, very small, and you wanted to kind of like funnel these markers down so that only like one of them would go by the detector at a time. And how to do that on a really small scale, like a mechanical funnel is just going to clog, basically. And so we were using other fluid, basically water, coming in at different angles in order to create a funnel, in order to narrow this stream, because you can do weird stuff like that when you have incredibly small ultra laminar flow channels. So yeah, we like did a few different ones at different angles to figure out like how you would get like the best kind of narrowing and be able to detect these markers. So yeah, still waiting for the magical blood test, but
Yes.
yeah, yeah. But no, that was cool.